friends, and welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'm really glad you're here. My name is Becca. This channel is all about my love for spinning, knitting, weaving, crocheting, sewing, all the fiber things. I invite you to grab whatever project you have on the go and join me. Let's make some stuff. Today I have a new spinning wheel to introduce you to, the newest addition to my flock. This is the Kromski Polonaise Norwegian Style spinning wheel. But before we get into that, I wanted to share with you a little bit about what I'm wearing and a couple of knitting projects that I've got on the go. So I'll start with what I'm wearing. This tee is made from hand-spun wool and silk, a variety of different wools that I had that I thought blended really nicely together. This is from a pattern book of mix and match, build your own sweater. I've shared this before, but this is by Berries and Cream tee. It is wool, but I do wear it in the summertime even when it's hot. And so it's a nice loose boxy fit with a nice keyhole V-neck opening that allows plenty of airflow. So that is my Berries and Cream tee. It's been a few weeks since my last video, and that's because I've been doing a lot of traveling for my other work. Traveling usually for me means yarn shopping. That's one of my favorite things to do, but unfortunately on this trip I wasn't able to get away with the busy schedule that I had, and so no new yarn shopping, no new yarn acquisitions to share with you, but I did take not one, not two, but 3 projects with me while I was traveling, to be traveling on the go. I took a complicated knitting project that I thought might be something I could do while I was alone in the hotel room. I took a simpler knitting project that I could do when I didn't have space or time to devote a lot of energy to focusing on what I was working on. And then I took a spindle and a spinning project. So that's what I'd like to share with you now. The travel projects that I had in my bag on this trip. So the complicated knitting project, this is the lace shawl that I've been working on. You can see I've made some progress on this since the last time I showed you, but I did not do any of this knitting while I was traveling. This project takes pretty much all of my focus, so I can only do this when I'm doing nothing else, and it never came out of the bag. But I did have it with me, even though I didn't work on it. My simpler knitting project was, of course, socks. These are 2 at a time, toe-up socks on a long circular needle. This is my pretty much standard way of knitting socks. Unless they're really complicated, I will do them 1 at a time. But this is, the yarn is Felici from Knit Picks. This color is called Bayou, which is in the shades of sort of navy and green, blue and green. And I think they're turning out really nicely. This is my standard sock, so I don't really need to have a pattern with me. I know how many stitches there are. I've made these socks I don't know how many times. And so these are really great for when I just need something to be doing with my hands, but I need to be focusing on other things, or when I'm tired from traveling and don't really have a lot of capacity to think about a complicated project. So I brought these 2 balls of yarn and I started casting on during the flight. And I've used this yarn from Knit Picks for, I don't know, 5 or 6 different pairs of socks, probably at this point. And this is the first time ever that this has happened. I started casting on, first one and then the other. And then I quickly realized that the striping pattern was not the same between them. One of them is striping from outside in, while the other ball is wound the opposite direction. So I'm having to pull 1 ball from the inside and 1 ball from the outside to get the striping pattern to match. But after I figured that out and found where they started. You can see the knitting is going really well, and they're knitting up just fine. I made a lot of progress on these socks while I was on the trip, and these, from casting on all the way to I'm nearly ready to start the gusset and the heel turning, and all of that was done while I was traveling. So I did this not only on the flight, but also in other public places. So while I was at the event, listening to the event that was happening, I did pull it out from time to time and just knit a few rows. I also did a lot of knitting on this while I was in the hotel room because I was too tired to work on the complicated knitting project, but I could still do the simpler knitting of the socks. So newest pair of socks. Keep an eye out for these. They will be a work in progress for a little while I am crafting away. And finally, I took a spinning project along with me. I took my Snyder spindle. This is a Turkish spindle, very small, very lightweight. This spindle I got from the Whorlery, and I will put links to everything that I share with you again in the description box if you're interested for that. But this one is made of zebra wood, and it is a Turkish spindle, so the ball gets wound around the arms as you're spinning. Mine doesn't have a hook, but it does have a little bit of a notch there. I don't use hooks generally when I spin, so I just sort of spin off the tip and do more of a grasped spinning technique. So I was able to ply together a ball of yarn. This is 2-ply, and this wool is 100% merino, beautifully dyed. This color is called Blackcurrant, this deep burgundy, and this is from Arbon Textiles. So I've had this wool sort of on my spindle for quite a long time because I only really do any of the work on this while I'm traveling, which doesn't happen very often. But it's a Turkish spindle like this, especially something small, is really convenient to take traveling because you can just take the center out and then it lays flat. Won't get broken. The two arms do come apart, and you just slide them in and pop the spindle itself back through, and then you're ready to spin. So this was also a public display of crafting. I was spinning on this in the airport, I was spinning on this in the hotel lobby, and I did have a couple of people come up to me and ask me what I was working on, some curious onlookers, which is always fun to be able to share this with people who may not be familiar with the craft. So that was fun. I did get a little bit done. As I said, I plied a ball. I had 2 balls of singles, and so this ball then just pops right off. You just pull the spindle out of it and you have a center pull ball. So my final travel project to share with you, this was my Turkish spindle spinning that I did while I was traveling. Now let's have a look at this spinning wheel. This, as I said, is the Kromski Polonaise. It is a Norwegian style spinning wheel. And it is the newest member of my flock. I got this wheel a few months ago for my birthday from my amazing and wonderful husband, who is always very encouraging of my crafts and knows how to get some really good gifts. So this wheel, I fell in love with this type of spinning wheel from the very first time I saw it. This was years ago on a program called Norwegian Knit Night from Slow TV, where it was, I think, 8 hours of people spinning and knitting and sharing a night together in like real time in Norway. And on this program, they had a group of about 5 or 6 people who were doing the sheep to sweater challenge. And this is where they start by shearing a sheep, and then they will card and spin the fleece into yarn while still dirty in the grease, and then they'll take this yarn and knit it into a sweater. And they do this all in one go, so there will be one person who is carding and preparing the fiber for spinning. There'll be another person who's spinning, and then there's somebody else who's knitting, and probably a couple of people on each of these things to get it done. And it is a really amazing process. I'm not sure that I would want to participate in such a thing, but it is a really interesting challenge. Anyway, one of the people who was doing the spinning had a wheel that was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. Instead of having an angled table where the wheel sits in, the table itself was parallel to the ground, to the floor, and it was actually a two-tiered table where the maiden was sitting on another plank above the main table. And I learned that this was a Norwegian or Baltic style spinning wheel, and I was just enamored with these things. I went searching for a wheel, found a few antiques, but they were all either way out of my price range or needed too much work to really be something that I wanted to invest in. And so I sort of tucked it away in the back of my mind, moved on to other interests, and then I found that Kromski was making a new spinning wheel in this style. They've been making this for a long time, but I discovered it fairly recently, and so I've had the page for the spinning wheel sort of pinned for quite some time, and finally this wheel has come to live with me. I will put all the specifications, if you're interested in that, down in the description box, but I'll go over some of the features that make this wheel unique. Again, this is the Kromski Polonaise, and with all Kromski wheels you can get it in a variety of finishes. I prefer the unfinished one, and then to just use spinning wheel wax on all of my wheels on the wood to bring out the natural look of the wood. But you can also get it in a clear coat finish. You can, and then the wood doesn't oxidize and age, it stays that bright color. You can get it in a walnut finish, or you can get it in a mahogany finish, and they're all very beautiful. There is a price difference for the finished versus unfinished, but I buy the unfinished because I prefer that. I prefer the feel and the look of the waxed wood to a finished. Personal preference. The wheel is made of European alder and birch wood. It's a fairly large wheel, but there are a few things that make this type of spinning wheel, I think, unique to all of the others. And the most obvious one is the parallel table, rather than having an angled table. And this construction, this very square to the ground construction, makes it very stable to spin on, which you'll see in a minute when we go and do some spinning together. The other things that make this different are that the uprights where the wheel sits actually have two very long adjustment wooden screws on either side, and that's so that you can make adjustments to the cant of the wheel right to left as it lines up with the bobbin and the flyer. So if you needed to adjust a little bit one way or the other, if the band is slipping off, you can make those adjustments. I'm not sure if that has anything to do with the local climate or the wood or why that choice was made in this region, but I find very interesting. This, like many Kromski wheels, you can set up for double drive or single drive with Scotch tension. I have mine set up with a double drive. It has an orifice hook that comes with it, with a slot in the table where you can stow it away when it's not in use. The other thing that you may or may not notice in the footage that I'm about to show you is that this wheel is very, very quiet. It barely makes any sound, so you probably won't be able to hear it over the nature sound. So I've had this wheel for a few months now, and I have done lots of spinning on it. I have spun up a lot of this Manx Lufton. This is a natural brown color of the sheep. This is some of the yarn that I've spun with it. I think it makes a really nice consistent yarn, and it makes quick work of everything. So definitely a workhorse of a spinning wheel if you are looking for that. But today I wanted to show you what I'm spinning now. This is another heritage breed. This is Dorset Horn. And here's some that I spun up previously on the wheel. But this is a natural cream colored wool from the Dorset Horn breed. It is coarser than Merino, but it's not hairy. It spins and drafts really nicely, and I think it's going to turn out nice and fluffy. This hasn't been, the twist hasn't been set yet in this, so it will bloom and be a little bit more fluffy, I think, once it's all finished. But that's what I'm spinning today. This and the Manx Lofton I got from the Woolery in a conservation breed sampler pack with one 250 gram bag of the Dorset Horn, one of the Manx Lofton, one of Black Welsh Mountain, and another of Devon. And I bought 4 of these bags, so I have 1,000 grams each. So lots of natural wool from different breeds. I'm really excited about all of this wool and plan to make some lovely natural colored sweaters with them. So let's get to spinning. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this look at the Kromski Polonaise Norwegian Style spinning wheel, and I hope you enjoyed spinning with me outside on this lovely summer day. Thank you so much for spending some of your creative time with me. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!